everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Business and Life Insights podcast presented to you by SoCal Digital Studio and myself. I'm Nell Varinas. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing you to Carol Abrahamson. I'm very pleased to have her on board. She's such a distinguished and illustrious personality, and you'll find out more about her as the program progresses. So Carol, she's the founder of and CEO of ETL and Transformations. She helps experts and thought leaders build exceptional businesses, brands, and legacies. She has been compiling and sharing information about distinctive 100,000K income streams and prestige boosters since the 1970s. Initially at a Wall Street venture capital investment banking firm, and then for her own business during decades as a C-suite strategic growth advisor to 200 plus of America's largest and most influential corporations, including Steve Jobs and the Apple team. Now, having compiled over 300 specifically for experts and thought leaders, she has her Unusual Income Streams podcast. She consults to individuals and offers online courses and mastermind groups to experts worldwide who want to get noticed and admired, differentiate themselves and their business, extend their reach, amplify their message, and exponentially increase their impact while monetizing their expertise through these uncommon, high potential, high growth strategies. Carol helps clients to learn the income stream way of thinking while they choose a few that are the right ones for their goals and strengths, and then add the chosen few to their business or to their side hustle if they work in an organization that their competitors are not doing. She has used over 45 in her own recent business. My gosh, Carol is such a personality, and I'll let her tell you more about it. The list goes on, and let me let her continue where I left off, because she has worked for some very large companies and have benefited them immensely, from Wall Street to McGraw-Hill, the publishing house, to Silicon Valley personalities. She did some IPOs, and now she's an entrepreneur in her own right, a very creative thinker. Welcome aboard, Carol. Thank you so much for being here today. We're so pleased to have you.
Well, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here now.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So let's start with you. So I've given a little thumbnail sketch about your background, but would you tell us more about some of those very interesting, exciting, and very high-profile projects that you've been involved with?
You mean in terms of my career?
Yes, please. And then we're going
Sure.
to lead right into how to make $100,000 multi-income stream part of your portfolio of income.
Well, I was a young pup and I started working on Wall Street, and that's where I started getting involved in income streams because I was at a venture capital firm. And our send off to all the many entrepreneurs who came to us for funding, but that we had to turn down. As part of our send off, we wanted to give them some kind of substance. Not just a few introductions to a few other venture capitalists to talk to, but actually give them some strategic substance that might help them with their business. So that's how I got involved with this. And a decade later, I started my own company in Silicon Valley, where I got to work for companies large and small, as Nell mentioned, starting with Steve Jobs and the Apple team. They were my first client before my business even had a name. And 20 years, 200 clients later, I was working for the Yahoo team, just as I was bowing out and deciding to reinvent myself and choose a different career. So that's kind of my roots. And in the meantime, now I've founded 22 businesses and nonprofits. And I've used, as Nell said, 45 of the 300 income streams in my collection in my own recent businesses in the last couple of decades. So I have firsthand experience that I'm going to be sharing today, as I described. A couple dozen of my favorites.
Fantastic. That's a very impressive and a thumbnail sketch of your background. So excited to hear more about you. So let's start with question number one. So before we deep, um, so who do these income streams and prestige boosters work best for? You might have touched on it earlier, but if you could elaborate a little bit more.
Sure. They and I apologize for reading. I have so much I want to cover and share with you. I am reading from a teleprompter, I hope that's not bothersome to anyone who's here today. Um, they work for huge parts of the civilized and developed world. First of all, they work for knowledge-based experts who have had particular training or experiences that they learned from. Examples range from doctors to dog trainers to devilishly good cooks, parents who solved a problem that many people face, anyone with a solution to a common vexing problem, university professors, government gurus, corporate specialists, all of the above. And these can be people who have created their own version of a solution or something useful, or it can be people who have pulled together and organized info that someone else created, or several someone else's have created. They also work for thought leaders who are disrupting and improving industries large and small with their new ideas and processes. Also, solopreneurs, professionals, and business owners whose work is based on expertise that they want to monetize. They also work for all kinds of coaches, consultants, course creators and trainers, speakers, nonfiction authors. And I hope that if you fit into one or more of these categories, that you will find a new idea or two from these growth strategies to add to your business or your side hustle next year.
What do you mean by distinctive income streams and prestige boosters, Carol?
There are 5 common income streams that all too often make experts all look alike within an industry or a niche. I call these 5 the big boring 5 when I'm feeling snarky, and I call them the foundational 5 when I'm behaving myself. And these 5 common income streams are coaching, consulting, speaking, course creation and teaching, and writing a book. If combinations of these 5 are all that you and your competitors are doing, it's likely very difficult for any of you to stand out and get noticed because you all look so much like each other. The same is true of professional service providers like accountants, lawyers, PR experts, website developers, even interior designers. Within their niche, they each usually deliver very similar services and look remarkably alike to an outsider who's trying to decide who to work with. So, what I'm talking about are unusual, less common income stream activities that differentiate a business when added to whatever everyone in your niche does, or that you might want to do instead of your niche's common activities. And these income streams become turbocharged when your competitors aren't doing the same things. In addition to the income streams, are what I call prestige boosters that don't generate cash the way income streams do, but they produce status, recognition, and often give the impression of leadership that can be even more powerful than cash in fueling growth because of how they attract attention, invitations, opportunities, collaborations, and high-profile relationships as they spark admiration. I also call the prestige boosters in my collection the indirect income streams. Either separately or together, these streams and boosters can go a long way in igniting an expert's business, its visibility, its reach, its impact, and its profits. Most are imminently doable, requiring no capital or sustained staff support, excuse me. All that's typically required is for an expert to put themselves in the picture and focus on pursuing a few, just one or two at a time, a few of these uncommon growth strategies that will get them noticed and admired big time versus their competitors. And before I finish this comment, let me stress the particular importance of getting noticed. As anyone knows who's been in business very long, that is absolutely essential in attracting new clients and therefore in having a vibrant business. If you aren't getting noticed by your market in a good way, you aren't attracting prospects or clients. And most important, and I can't stress this enough, creating income streams is a way of thinking. It's a headspace. And my mission today is to show you how it works and that it can bring you to amazing, substantive, noteworthy benefits.
Well, you got our attention, Carol. So now let's take a deep dive into some examples of these income streams that you're speaking of.
I have 10 of my favorites to tell you about. First, collaborate with people who share your passion to create an event, perhaps an award program, or even a mini statistical index that tracks activity in your industry sector or your niche. Any of those activities would attract and serve others with the same interest or passion, and that would put you smack dab in the center of a like-minded community. Most of the long-established professional associations, festivals, annual conferences, celebrations, etc., in every field started through a single person like you with a vision who assembled and organized each of those startups' initial planning groups. And your vision can do that too. Next, become a specialized as needed expert at related businesses that also serve your audience. By this, I mean an orthodontist or an oral surgeon might have referral relationships with dozens of dentists in town who they get patient flows from. You can do that too. Or a graphic designer might be on call with a few dozen website developers. Or in my work as a Silicon Valley investor relations expert for 20 years, I was the non-resident expert on the team at 15 different public relations agencies, working with many of them simultaneously, and I helped them pitch potential clients who needed my expertise. I helped them deliver those special services and train the agency's staff about the basic terms and concepts. Those agencies acted as finders for me due to the alliances I forged with all of them. Yet instead of my paying them a finder's fee, I got paid some whopping big fees thanks to them. So think about who else serves your market who might have clients to send you as you align with them. If you're having trouble getting through the gatekeepers to the decision makers you want to reach, create a program for those gatekeepers that helps them do their job. I did this when admins, we called them secretaries at the time, but I'll call them admins now. I did this when admins were in the way of my reaching my ideal client chief financial officers in Silicon Valley. And I did this by creating a series of 8 Wednesday group trainings that I conducted every 18 months for the admins. In coming to those trainings, they learned the context and importance, terminology, and the backstory about many of the documents that regularly flew across their desks. And many mentioned my name to their boss as the trainings progressed. And some even introduced me to their boss in the following months, who I might add also benefited from my program through their admins' improved productivity. So this was a three-way win-win for the chief financial officer, admin, and me. I not only made a ton of money and garnered decades-long loyalty from the admins, whose careers my training had supercharged, but I also got strong referrals and introductions to the very relationships that previously seemed out of range. So think about how you can help your gatekeepers. Create groups within your niche that benefit from networking as well as information sharing or training. This will keep you top of mind as those group meetings recur, and people will appreciate you as the glue that keeps the network together and smoothly operating. Networking was an unexpected benefit for my trained big company CFO admins that I just mentioned because previously most of them lived as though they were in separate silos and they didn't know each other. Subsequently, after the 8-week trainings, many became business buddies to ask for advice about specific topics, to be a sounding board, to brainstorm with, and to learn about local job openings from. I was the hub of that wheel for them, and our being together during the mere 8 weeks of training was enough time for them to forge new peer relationships that had staying power because of all that they had in common with each other. So the lesson on this one is never underestimate the power of creating a network that everyone appreciates being part of.
Carol, I just have to mention that's genius. You helped the admins become more valuable to their bosses, and also it's a skill that maybe the bosses hadn't understood that would help them as well. So very insightful of you, very nice. So we should all keep our eyes open as to how we can help those people who we perceive to be in our way. Thank
Well,
you. We have another one, right?
you know, everyone has expertise to share, and if you think about which part of your expertise set would really benefit the gatekeepers, it's not hard to put together, whether it's a newsletter. It doesn't have to be an in-person program, that brings people together physically. It can be a newsletter. It can be a an audio podcast series or audio training series or online course. Um, the point is to be sensitive to what expertise we each have that the gatekeepers could really benefit from knowing too, just as their bosses could. But don't overlook the gatekeepers.
Right. And you started this business with a simple flyer, right? You distributed the flyer to the administrative assistants, and they
I
came to your classes. They
I
paid for,
actually, excuse me,
excuse
I,
me.
I actually distribute it to their bosses because those are the names I had, the chief financial officers. I didn't have any of the admin names because I'd not met most of them. There were 200 public companies in the Bay Area and Silicon Valley that were my market, and I probably only had personal relationships with a few dozen of the admins who had already worked for companies that had been clients of mine. So I actually sent the flyer to the chief financial officers since those names were public information. And when a boss is really pleased with an employee, many bosses are then always looking for ways to reward the employee and to do something special, something nice. So I think by my sending it to the bosses who didn't know my name from Adam, but the program title interested them, um, you know, if they were on a mission to help reward their valued admins, I played right into that for them. So it was easy for them to approve. And, I probably could have charged almost anything I wanted to charge and still been able to fill those sessions just because of bosses who were looking for ways to let their key hires really know that those hires were much appreciated.
You have me thinking. Thanks, Carol.
So I sent the one-page flyers to the chief financial officers who didn't know my name, presumably from Adam, in order to meet their gatekeepers. And I was going after the gatekeepers in order to meet the chief financial officers. So it was an odd circle of relationships that ended up happening in the years that I was doing those trainings. But it was, a powerhouse for me flow of client relationships and introductions that I probably never could have gotten otherwise.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay. And you have more.
I do more, yes. So, host memorable working retreats or cruises to inform, rejuvenate, and create a unique, high impact experience for clients, during which they can also accomplish an important task, like the outline of a complicated plan or project, or of a multi year marketing effort packed with sequenced product launches and relaunches. A key benefit of getting away from daily pressures and routines at a retreat or cruise in order to think deeply and without interruption. And that can be accomplished by convening somewhere in person or convening virtually with having each attendee going to a nearby hotel room uh, during the meeting times or to a quiet part of their home or office. So it doesn't have to be a big deal travel trip kind of retreat. It can be sort of a mental retreat that you do virtually to get the same benefit of the work done. It's not so memorable in terms of the environment or the ambiance, but it can certainly be more easily put together and with much lower cost with everyone involved if you want to consider doing it as a virtual event. Now, some retreats are for a project's entire team or leadership group, and at other times, they're for just a handful of people who work separately on their own version of a similar task, like doing a 3-year strategic plan, for instance. In-person retreats have become a huge part of the travel industry. So if you do decide to do a retreat that has everyone traveling somewhere, many travel agents have lots of information about the options you might include that will pace the focused work that you plan to have everyone complete with some recreation, some relaxation, and maybe even some team building experiences.
And to have some fun and maybe a mini vacation in addition.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sounds like a fun one.
Um, but when you're doing it, the trick is when you're doing it in person, you want to be sure that as the organizer, you don't lose money. There are lots of costs, hidden costs, unexpected costs, even, the 2% that the credit card company charges on a $10,000 retreat you're selling, um, is going to chip away. And so careful planning, often under the advice of an expert like a travel agency who's experienced with retreats or a trainer. There are some people who are actually training possible retreat hosts, experts who have clients that they want to plan a retreat for, and they're actually training programs to help experts, solopreneurs like me, who might want to do a retreat to, let's say, Sedona, um, train me how to do it and be at my hand for the first retreat I do to be sure that it doesn't become a money pit. That is the danger of in-person retreats and cruises, but with an expert by your side to show you the ropes, easy peasy.
Thanks for the caveat.
Uh,
And
an- Another great kind of high-end um, strategy is to market $10,000 or $20,000 VIP days that will offer an intense one-on-one program and help your individual clients accomplish something important quickly. VIP days can last for more than a mere day. Some will fill a whole weekend or include regular meetings for a month or even a year. What they do have in common is, though, most of them are at least several $1,000s, some as high as $50,000 for a VIP day to basically totally revolutionize your business plan and its potential. These programs often involve making a plan for the next year or accomplishing many of the same tasks that retreats can accomplish for small groups. And their popularity, VIP days that is, popularity, has soared post-COVID. If you've created your own process, system, or method for accomplishing something, another income stream would be to license it to colleagues. Even license it even to competitors whose services could expand or improve if they licensed your materials from you. Other potential licensees might be companies, corporations, educational institutions, healthcare entities, government bodies, etc. Any organization whose business would grow through their licensing of your intellectual property. My venture into this next year will be to license a version of my course about choosing the right income streams to add to your business. I plan to license it to universities, corporations, and entrepreneurs who serve aspiring and current experts who are seeking to monetize their expertise. I'll be I'll be spending months next year just identifying potential licensees that I might approach with my offer, and see if they're interested in adding my income stream content to what they do so that they can then charge more, have a better brand, um, hang on to their clients longer, have better retention, and in general have an improved business. I'll make a small commercial here and say, let me know if you're interested in bringing my income stream content to your clients for the benefit of each of us.
Fantastic. Put me on the list.
Right, I will. Another way to exponentially expand the number of clients your intellectual property reaches is to certify people to use your expertise and systems to attract and work with their clients. This can be the means to create a global brand without your having to hire international teams. In that you would be you could certify people around the world or on continents or in markets where you want to have a business presence. Donald Miller has his story brand system, and Michael Gerber has his eMyth business coaching, and both are excellent examples of certification programs involving thousands of people they have certified in what in the process they've created that continues to introduce their products around the world to new markets. It's very powerful. And you can stay home. You don't have to go anywhere, but let your certified uh, team that know what you've created, know your content and your intellectual property well. Let them do all the traveling and live in different markets instead of your having to go through that expense and building that infrastructure in your business.
And I know Michael Gerber has created several versions of his eMyths for different industries. So he's really been able to tap into diverse industries with this one concept.
He has indeed, and all just through this machine he's built that certifies people regularly, and also then gives them access to his all of his newest and latest and greatest materials as he's improving them constantly. Another thing you can do is organize and host a virtual summit event, which is a collaboration of speakers who collectively cover multiple aspects of a topic during a few days. You can invite colleagues you know, as well as ones you want to meet, to be the speakers. And the presentations can be pre-recorded or presented live, and you may decide to attract some sponsors who also serve the same audience that you and all your speakers serve. Each speaker typically offers a bonus gift to attendees, which helps to build that speaker's email list and fan base. And all the speakers promote the event to their email list. So you have cross marketing and also via social media so that they are each getting new fans and followers. Summits often offer a free level of attendance plus a paid version that has extra attendee benefits. And as organizer and host of a summit, you'd get exposure and status within your industry as the leader of that pack. You'd also get all the email names of all the attendees who both learned about your expertise and got to watch you in action during your summit sessions, because of course, you'd be one of the presenting speakers. And you get stronger relationships with the speakers you've invited to participate, who may then start inviting you to speak at their events in coming months. You might also get a pot of cash from all of the paid tickets that you sell for the extra benefits attendees will be getting. This can be a terrific win-win for benefits for all. And you'd be amazed at the range of topics that summits cover. I did a summit last July called Nonfiction Secrets for aspiring and current nonfiction authors. And we had 32 topics that were covered over 4 days. Um, I have a friend who has done a summit on long COVID. People do summits on marketing techniques, on building email lists, on referral systems and sales techniques, um, on all kinds of health and wellness, from ADHD to diabetes treatments to, AI uses. I mean, summits are on any topics you can imagine. So whatever your expertise is about can probably be shoehorned into the summit format if you ever want to take this uh, strategy for a drive.
Right. Carol, if I could just kind of interject here. So, but also, besides hosting, sponsoring, and organizing a summit, would you suggest searching for summits that would be in alignment with your own areas of expertise? Is there a way that our guests can look for summits that align with what they do?
Yes, that's a great thought, Nell. Absolutely.
Mm,
There are services and databases that basically help speakers find events. So summits fit into a very popular category within that service that they provide. Um, there are professional speakers know that there are directories and databases that they can find through Google searches who help speakers book gigs and find stages to present at. And so podcasts are usually a subset of what those directories cover and keep up to date. Also, there are summit production companies. I used a summit production company who took care of all the tech, all the money, all the hard stuff. My only job was to work with the speakers and decide their topics and interview them and help them decide what gifts to offer our attendees. My production company did everything else. And my production company, like many, has a database of interested potential speakers. It's obvious from their website. They'll have a button that says speaker directory, apply here, and all you have to do is fill out an application form and mention the keywords or key topics that you want to be found within their community as an expert about. I've never seen anybody reference checking or vetting. The directory will then be available to um, whomever it's being set up as a resource for. And I just got invited to an author summit that's happening late March by being in a directory of a production company that um, I never considered working with because I didn't know enough about them at the time, but I registered into their directory a few years ago as an expert about nonfiction book publishing. And sure enough, I got discovered with a cold email that came into my email or actually now it's been about 6 weeks since I got found and invited by the host of that summit to be one of her speakers.
oh, fantastic. Congratulations. I'm also really intrigued by the fact that there are companies that help provide, orchestrate the summits, do all of the legwork for you. So if our guests decide that they would like to develop a summit, there are companies out there that can help give the framework and make that job easier.
Absolutely. And they are generally listed as virtual event producers, is kind of the lingo, virtual events. So they may cover virtual sales events, virtual trade shows, virtual summits. They do many kinds of they have the technology to handle the virtual world and the tech and the money. And often summits are not the only things that they do. So if you're searching for the kind of service providers you want to consider, summit producer certainly is a good keyword, but so is virtual event production company. And most big cities around the world have several virtual event production companies that the local Chamber of Commerce or Convention Bureau knows all about, because those production companies are often the ones behind some of the biggest events that come to their town.
Wonderful behind the scenes intelligence. All
There's also
right.
there's also a service called Speakertunity. Speakertunity, combining the word speaker and opportunity. Um, that is a subscription service for I think about $100 for 3 months to have access to a database of thousands of speaking opportunities, including podcast speaking and summit speaking, that is constantly updated with a team, a worldwide team who's always searching for events that are looking for speakers. So speakertunity.com would be where you would go there, and you'll see that they have subscription packages that give you access to their database, and you can do all kinds of research about things coming up that you might want to connect with and get booked at.
Very, very exciting. Speakertunity.com. We'll
Right.
remember that one.
Kind of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yes,
Speaker.
it does. Fun. Speakertunity. Oh, I love these portmanteaus. I think that's what that's called. When you combine two words that have absolutely nothing to do with each other, but then you mush them together and you have a whole new word.
That's right. So my last income stream I'd like to tell you about is to host a podcast. Ta-da! Nell, you know about that. I know about that. Many of our listeners probably know about that too. Host a podcast that relates to your expertise. You can do it with guests, or you can do a hot podcast that just has you sharing your wisdom. Or you can do a hybrid show that has a little of each of those formats included in it. And of course, this is one of my newest ventures that will take a really deep dive into a few dozen income streams like these every year, one income stream per episode as a masterclass with a speaker who's had firsthand experience with that income stream. So, and to show you another income stream angle, I have two other strategies that create siblings of your current products or services that all can become new income streams for you. First, excuse me, yes, first, create a light version of each of your products or services, or create a trio of each of your products or services, having a light version, a medium weight version, and a fully loaded version. That will give you a product for every budget, and more important, for every mindset. And you will never lose a piece of business that is based on price, based on a price that someone is looking for, because you will have something for everyone. I did this with my consulting service uh, years ago in Silicon Valley, where I had a $15,000 version, a $30,000 version, and a $45,000 version of basically the same expertise, just kind of small, medium, large, light, medium weight, fully loaded. This tiered pricing, like tiers on a wedding cake, TIER, tiered pricing, meant I never in 20 years got asked to give anyone a discount. And nobody ever whined to me about, I don't have the money for this. Can you give me a break? 3 was definitely better than 1. And they could easily all be described within a single proposal. And that way, the client who I did the proposal for could easily on a page compare, contrast, and choose which one was the right one for them to buy. Just the same way that we all do with many of the software or other service plans that we buy, like Dropbox or even Zoom. Some things have free versions, but some don't have free versions. Some of them are light, medium weight, and heavy duty, the same way as I'm describing. And each of those versions becomes a separate income stream. My other favorite sibling strategy is to create versions of your core expertise for multiple industries or different kinds of clients. 40 to 80% of your content that you put into the versions could be exactly the same, but then you'd add unique industry jargon, stories, data, examples, etc., to create different versions to sell, which would each be a separate income stream. I did this with a family of workbooks and workshops for 15 industries full of experts wanting to write a book to grow their business. So I had 15 versions of my book, one for doctors, one for lawyers, one for PR and advertising agencies, one for architects and home design people. And, the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series is another example of the same type, where instead of different industries, chicken soup books um, are for various kinds of readers, hundreds of versions of Chicken Soup for the Soul books that sell around the world. And you can use this strategy for everything you do, including your coaching programs, consulting, your courses, your speaking gigs, your publications, reports. I even just the other day saw a research company releasing a big research report that cost, I don't know, $10,000 or $12,000 to get the whole report. And I noticed they were selling versions for about 8 different industries. They had just parsed the data from the survey work that they had done uh, into various industries, separate reports, each for about hundreds of dollars each, um, for individual marketplaces, individual industries. So there's lots of ways you can slice and dice something for different kinds of readers, and in the process create lots of new income streams for yourself.
Talk about leveraging your work and your time, just to being able to adapt the bulk of the work and to a specific industry or to a specific use case um, creatively. Sounds very, 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 very good. So I'll have to put that into practice somehow. You got me thinking about that. Now, earlier we were talking about prestige boosters, and not quite sure that well, let's revisit that. Could you, so besides making a revenue stream, there are ways to set the stage to create revenue streams. And I think that the prestige boosters fill that role. Could you talk to us about what a prestige booster is in your vernacular?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I call these the indirect income streams that bring you visibility and admiration that are often more valuable than cash. So let's look at 10 of these. You can feature industry colleagues who serve the same audience that you do on web pages you create on your website that you call resource web pages. And then let those colleagues know that you've added their name to your web pages so that your web traffic and your clients will see that you recommend these folks. And then all of those named and vetted resources will consider you as an ally to collaborate, coordinate, and share information and opportunities with. I have several hundred vetted resources listed on my executiveauthors.com website under a resources button, and graduates of my courses go to those pages for help with their next steps. And this is another 3-way win-win-win, because the graduates benefit, my listed colleagues benefit, and of course, I benefit with admiration and the strength of the relationships. And an added bonus for you may occur if some of these colleagues have affiliate programs and are willing to pay you for the clients that they get from your web pages. So that's one way to make this a real income streams with the money flowing. But absent that added bonus of affiliate programs, you have a prestige booster that makes you queen of the hop with these folks who you are then sending occasional clients to who come off of your courses or your programs. Another one is to organize or participate in a lunch and learn series of speakers that your ideal clients can attend. These catered or bring your own programs started at the local level decades ago, with many started at chambers of commerce around the country, and they've gone digital in recent years. In the 1980s, the largest local bank's president in Silicon Valley hosted these conference room sessions to acquire and retain his corporate banking clients. So he had this lunch and learn program um, featuring local experts and inviting his clients to sit around the table and listen to the local expert or pepper them with questions. And so as a result, I met several of my eventual client chief financial officers by speaking at a handful of those lunch and learn meetings over 2 years' time. I had asked my clients who were the bank's customers to introduce me to that bank president after I learned about his weekly program so that I'd get asked to speak. It didn't cost me anything. All it cost me as the guest speaker didn't cost me anything. All it cost him was a brown bag lunch for each of us from the local deli. And hosting one of these series is a strategy you might even decide to charge, a small fee for people to attend. Another one, you can volunteer in your industry's professional associations, high profile, chapter level, or national committees, and then maybe work your way up the ladder to do a stint as the president. So president of your professional association. So whether you're a lawyer, it's a bar association. If it's in my case, in public relations, there's the Public Relations Society of America for people who are HR training and development people. There's the National Association for ASTD, and also there's the SHRM, National Professional Association for HR experts, whether they are solopreneurs or whether they work inside massive corporations. The association serves all the people in the field. So for you to get involved in a chapter or a national committee and make a name for yourself by doing a great job, that is the key to then working your way up the ladder within possibly a very short time, maybe just a few years, to actually get invited then to do a stint as president. This worked for me twice in two industries on two coasts in 2 decades. In the 1970s, while I worked on Wall Street and then joined McGraw-Hill in New York, and it worked again for me in the 1990s in Silicon Valley. The value of even a short time as president pays off big time because it has such high visibility with thousands of members. And it's such a rare job, a rarely held job. And being part of the elite group of past presidents who might get called on for special high profile or high impact roles over time keeps that payoff accruing for you for years after you've stepped down and a new president has taken over. So I call that strategic volunteering. Well, another type of strategic volunteering I want to tell you about is to offer your real world expertise to university students who are studying in your field. And while you're doing that, while you're volunteering, look for opportunities to become a guest instructor, a visiting lecturer, or an adjunct faculty member at that institution. This is another strategy that worked well for me. Universities are always looking for real world role models who will engage with students, and it didn't take long after I volunteered to help a few individual professors in the business department that I began what became a decade as a guest instructor at Stanford University Business School and Santa Clara University Business School. Volunteering also brought me invitations to develop and be a beta version instructor for a new professional certificate program at San Jose State, and to mentor student teams and judge their Shark Tank presentations at Northern Illinois University's entrepreneurship program. None of these paid me a nickel in cash, but boy, oh boy, they were consistent competition killer strategies for me over about 25 years because almost nobody else in my field was doing any of that stuff, and yet everybody would have loved to have an invitation to do that stuff. And it wasn't hard to get invited once it was clear that you were a willing and capable volunteer.
Right, and you had already been vetted by such notable, very illustrious institutions. That doesn't hurt.
Right. True, yes.
Mhm.
But I would have been happy, anybody. I was just happy to be involved. I had time, I was looking to contribute and have something new on my besides just the same old that was on my desk. It was sort of entertainment time. And it really was very, very powerful, much more powerful than I ever would have expected. It doesn't have to be a nameplate institution by any means. The point is to be involved and to get noticed. Again, it comes down to being noticed for your talent, your skill.
Yeah, well said.
Another one is to write articles for nameplate publications in your industry. Dory Clark, some of you may know Dory. She's in, I think, in the Miami area is where she's located. Dory Clark has been a top Harvard Business Review and Forbes contributor for a decade. And her new online course about writing for your industry's top publications teaches the rules of the game. The course costs a couple $1,000s, and she runs it twice or maybe 3 times a year. She opens the door and takes a batch of students in. These article placements in your industry's top publications carry a lot more weight than LinkedIn articles. And if you've been doing LinkedIn articles, you may be able to change the slant of one or expand upon it and turn it into something that one of the nameplate organizations in your field would love to publish and promote for you. You can also conduct rave-reviewed multi-day challenges that help your audience accomplish something they value. You've probably seen 5-day challenges, 10-day challenges to do this or that. Ever since COVID, they've been hugely popular, and they're usually free, which is why they're in this category of prestige boosters rather than the cash generating income streams we talked about earlier. Although you may be able to charge or may decide to try charging for your challenge, but the norm is definitely these are free. They help your audience accomplish something that they value, and they can run from 3 days to 30 days and more. Always, though, they are about accomplishing a specific, well-defined task as their focus. And that task is usually described in a short daily video. So much of this popularity has occurred with challenges since experts and entrepreneurs in various fields have gotten more comfortable with doing videos, video lessons, and short video clip sessions that they build their challenge around. These challenges can attract leads. They can be the beginning of a product launch to get your market's attention, or to just keep you top of mind with your fans and your followers. Another thing is to form a new industry subgroup with fellow industry leaders to develop information, guidance, or expertise. This is a huge golden opportunity right now, as every industry, it seems, every industry everywhere is rushing to have its own national or international group to cover how AI's developments are affecting its stakeholders. Everybody wants an AI this or an AI that, talking about use cases, promoting, publicizing statistics on usage of AI, all kinds of information. There's a huge appetite for all kinds of information about AI within almost every industry and niche. Lots of people are jumping onto this bandwagon, and you don't need to be an AI expert or a visionary to put together one of these subgroups and start collecting this information regularly and publicizing it. I have a little pro tip for you. This is a great way to be able to invite colleagues you don't yet know and want to meet into your world. Even if they say no to your invitation to start this new subgroup with you, They then know you once you invite them, even if they say no, they then know who you are. They have an impression of you as a leader, and they may refer their colleagues to your effort or invite you to their future collaborations. So don't overlook that the mere process of making invitations to form the leadership team may pay big time dividends, bigger dividends than the actual work that the group ends up doing. And a bonus of this strategy is that you have the option to eventually charge for some aspect of the info you develop or collect. So if you start a hub of information about people in your industry or niche and how they're using AI, you can have some information you publicize for free in order to get publicity and to get some of your information out into the hands of the stakeholders. And you can, of course, keep some of the more valuable information and charge for it. If you've written a book in the last decade, apply for one or more book awards. Over 10,000 book awards and authors every single year receive this recognition and prestige. And in my view, book awards are far more powerful than 99% of the bestseller status designations. They are far less common than bestsellers. They usually result from a high touch process of judges actually reading the entire books. What a concept, huh? Judges actually reading the whole books. And they are lots less likely to be neutralized by the prestige, be neutralized as a prestige builder by the flood we are already seeing of AI created books. So I'm a big fan of book awards. They almost never come with money. It's really about being able to say you are an award winning author, you have an award winning book, or a multi award winning book. Kind of the same way that people talk about being a bestseller. So it's definitely worth your attention if you're an author. Two more to mention. Join nonprofit boards that can benefit from your particular expertise or experience. These two almost never pay, but they can bring you big time visibility and admiration. Your skills may become more advanced as a result. A new group of colleagues will be observing and appreciating your talent and abilities. Those are your colleagues on the same board. You'll have a broader group of professional relationships in the process, and you may learn some new skills along the way. And last, learn what it would take to be nominated for and win awards to be included on lists such as Innovation and Excellence Awards, 30, 30 under 30 go-getters to watch, or a Leaders of Tomorrow list. You'll be surprised how many industries have lists like this somewhere tucked away in the corners of the industries. And you'd also be surprised how many award programs will accept self-nominations or nominations from people that you know so you can get nominated. Somebody's going to benefit from each of those accolades, and you might as well be one of them.
Wonderful thought. My gosh, the time has really flown. We've got 2 minutes left in the hour, but I wanted to um, have you talk a little bit more about. There's a mindset that you have that opens up avenues of opportunity for generating income streams or creating opportunities for oneself. Could you speak about the mindset that you've developed?
Absolutely. Income streams is a way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the first thing you need to do to start getting into this way of thinking is to just start noticing that these activities are already happening all around us. Each and every day, we all know people who have done exactly the things I just finished describing. And yet, it's possible that maybe no one in the room except me has actually decided to do some of them. None of them are big secrets or newly invented. So, a key part of this way of thinking is to start paying attention and observing the variations and the
Mm-hmm.
things that some experts are creating that really make them stand out and get noticed and admired. Um, and as you adopt this way of thinking, then you will start putting yourself in the picture and start thinking about ways that a given strategy or activity could actually work for you and your business and put you in exactly the position that you would love to be in terms of being in the catbird seat. So it's really a mindset of paying attention and then thinking about repurposing, how to slice and dice something to use it different ways, to take a given piece of knowledge and do a special report from it. Or like the 16 things you can create to sell from a speech. You can turn it into a podcast, a course, a video, a transcript that you can sell, um, any number of blog posts, any number of possibilities. And it's really just a way of thinking about, what else can I do with this? I've got this piece of information or this bit of expertise, and who would it benefit? And what are some of the various ways I can present it to the various people who would benefit from it? So in brief, um, that's kind of the core of this income stream way of thinking that I propose everybody can adopt. None of this costs very much. It costs anything except a little bit of time.
Mhm, mhm. I'm sorry, that was me clearing my throat, but we'll edit that out. But I wanted to, would you have a few minutes to answer any questions that our audience might have? And let's
Sure.
open the floor. So those of you who are with us, if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask a question, you're welcome to ask a question of Carolyn. Anybody have a question um, that you would like? Okay, I have one. So when you are talking about discovering new ways of thinking so that you create new revenue streams for yourself, what do you ask yourself first before you come to an answer? Is there something that you use that will help prompt your thinking? And we should change the way we think about how we approach creating revenue streams. But is there something prior to that that can help us trigger the thought processes, get it
I,
going?
I think it's about pushing ourselves to be creative and to come up with a little mini buffet of possibilities, maybe that we decide to create for ourselves, and just some ideas, kind of internal brainstorming, or maybe even some external brainstorming with someone else about different ways to express an expertise, to contribute to somebody who benefits from it, you know, um, and just uh, I really think about just not being happy with a simple answer, the simple, obvious answer that everybody adopts, and that's why everybody's business looks alike, and it's so hard to truly get noticed um, by outsiders to your industry who are trying to figure out who to work with. Everybody really does look alike, and so to really push to think about where the benefits can flow from your expertise into someone else's world, and then what are some of the various access points that are not terribly expensive um, or out of reach technically, technologically, to actually make happen.
You think about it being a problem solver, about the person you're trying to serve, and being creative about it. Wow. Thank you, Carol. And I also want to invite you to give us some final thoughts. And I know you have a special gift for our registrants. And also, I would want you to talk about your website, your new website that's going to be launched in March. We have a surprise from Carol that I'd like her to describe to the group here today.
Well, I do have a surprise gift that will be in the show notes. It will be available through my etltransformations.com website when that site relaunches in a well, actually, it will be available immediately as soon as this the editing is done and this podcast is live, the link will be available to download a special gift about income streams that will kind of deep dive a little further into some income stream ideas that I've touched on today. So that website, though, will be fully functional sometime in March with a new homepage and, um, more typical website information. Right now, all it has is testimonials, and as of this weekend, it will have the link to download the little gift that I'm providing for everybody.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. I know you've been super busy, and then you're finally getting around to getting your website. The one, well, you probably have several because you have several businesses, but the one that we're speaking of today, yeah, have it ready in the spring. So that will be, we'll look forward to that. It'll be something that we'll all look forward to um, reading and becoming immersed in. So, Carol, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here today, and thank you for being so thorough. I know there are hundreds more that you haven't talked to us about, but you gave us a nice, healthy sampling of the kinds of revenue streams that we can, as thought leaders and experts in our own fields, where we can add to our revenue streams and create other new revenue streams into our portfolio of services that we provide. So,
Well,
Carol, tell us
thank you
again how
so much.
people can get a hold of you, your email, and you're on. Oh, and we have a question. We have a question about your coaching.
Sure. Well, to get a hold of me to answer that and put it out aside, Carol at carolabrahamson.com will probably always work as long as I'm alive. This podcast might outlive me because I'm not a young chicken, but as long as I'm around, Carol at carolabrahamson.com.
Yes,
The
that's
trick.
marvelous. Okay, so feel free to reach out to her. We'll also have contact information in the show notes as well as the summary that will be posted on LinkedIn and other social media platforms too. Okay, so that's it for today. We've gone a little bit over, forgive us, but we were having you've given us so much, Carol. We really appreciate your generosity here today.
Well, thank you so much, Nell, for having me. I loved being here, loved talking
Oh,
to
yes,
everybody, and I hope I've given people ideas that really feel doable, that can really make a difference in their business.
yes, absolutely. We can feel your genuineness there too. Thank you, thank you. All right, everybody. So with that, we'll bid you goodbye and invite you to join us again every Wednesday, 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific for another business and life insight program. And with that, we'll bid you good night and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Hanukkah. Very good. Thanks, everyone.